Insight 34. About the mysterious force of sexual attraction. The mind can receive a lot of information all at once. The mind can be conscious of only a few pieces of that information within a short time period. The rest of the information is stored in the subconscious. That stored information affects the mind without the mind's conscious knowledge. Therefore, you might think that some unknown force is affecting you, and you might mistakenly attribute the unknown force to nature, instinct, sexual attraction, etc. Alright, so I'm going to read the explanation, a little bit of it. Your mind is bombarded by too much information all at once. These multifaceted and multi-layered groups of information are directed at you all at once. Hence, you cannot exactly understand why you are interested in her. Listen attentively. You might notice that you are interested in her because of her heaving breasts, colorful bathing suit that accentuates her fantastically, her hair dancing in the wind, brushing her shoulders, the idea that she has almost nothing on, or her smooth, silky skin, and the list goes on endlessly. But you cannot be conscious of them all. There is too much information. In addition to these, there is much more subtle information which you cannot consciously identify. Therefore, you are bewildered. It seems magical to you. This occurrence of sexual attraction seems magical to you because the messages and the manipulations are not all obvious. They occur on numerous levels, and they occur more or less at the same time. Therefore, you cannot be aware of them consciously all at once. From your viewpoint, you believe that you are sexually attracted to her or simply attracted to her. You call it natural, instinctual, sexual, or even magical. So basically, you have a lot of information you're being bombarded with, and each one of these elements of contrast leave their impression on you, on your mind. Your mind darts back and forth between all these impressions. With each focus on each element, you're powerfully affected, and then you go on to the next one, the next, and the next, and the next. Your mind has a great ability to focus on many things one at a time. Bum, 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 bum. So within a very short time period, your mind has darted through several ideas, several ideas that are highly impactful. And because you're not conscious of what your mind is doing, what you are doing, and your mind is doing, and you're being affected, and you think that there's some mysterious force acting on you. Basically, it's your mind being impacted by all these elements of contrast, some of which you're conscious of, but most of which you don't know about. And so they leave their impact on you anyhow, without you knowing why. I would like to give you a small example of this. This is a non-sexual thing, but it leaves an impact anyhow. For my mother is a wonderful lady. She's passed away, 2001. But she used to be stern with me when I was a child. At certain points when I wouldn't listen to her, or didn't listen to her, or asked the questions of why, because I wanted to know why. She thought I was going against her, questioning her authority. That's what she thought I was doing. But actually, I was just asking. I wanted to know why. Also, I was not very good in school as far as math and some other subjects, so I tried to dodge doing some of my homework. So, anyway, so sometimes she was quite stern with me, and angrily wise. Her eyes would bulge out, and quite stern with me. Very strong voice she had. Anyway, so I had developed low self-esteem, and I had not realized where this actually stemmed from. Some of it I knew, some of it I didn't know. And I came to discover on my own that because of my mom's stern voice towards me, my mom's stern actions towards me, I had developed a very strong, this had contributed to my low self-esteem. I'll tell you why. because she never used any foul language. She wasn't the type to use foul language, but she never said you're stupid or you're this or you're that. Never, not even once. Uh, okay, but her stern voice was enough to suggest to me that I am of low character, a low person, because you don't speak to people of good character, of high character, of a noble, good quality person. You don't talk to them in a very demeaning way, right? So just by talking that way to the child, which I was a child, I got the impression subconsciously that I must be low. Otherwise, why would she be talking to me that way? You get it? Now, this was very difficult for me to find out that her voice, her tone of voice, had made such an impact on my mind, especially because she had never used a foul word. She had never used, put me down in any sort of way as far as words were concerned. But her tone of voice was enough to put me down. And so I had picked this up subconsciously, but I was not conscious of it until I figured it out. And then I go, that's why. Such a devastatingly low self-esteem. That was a big contributing factor. Okay. A little bit more about that insight is that on my example that I gave, she said that information was hidden. I was not conscious of it for the longest time, and so I had left this impact without me knowing why am I feeling so bad about that interaction. But so that's remains hidden until you become conscious of it. Then you go, Number 35. You might mistakenly believe that the thoughts and feelings which you are experiencing in your conscious mind and body are naturally occurring, and that they have originated from within you. You do not realize that they are actually generated by influences outside of you. You do not understand the extent to which your mind is being manipulated. You follow along the thought pathways of your own manipulated mind, believing the illusion fed to you by another. The illusions could be from earlier inputs, outside sources, or from your own ideas that are offshoots of external or internal imaginative suggestions. So let's see here. We got, thought pathways explained, and in example M and also example N, I'm going to go for both of them. Okay, so first, so you feel a lot of feelings and thoughts and sensations, and you feel that all these things are happening naturally. You're not aware of how your minds and thoughts and feelings can be manipulated by people outside yourself, or situations outside yourself, or by another or others, including your own self, your own body could be influencing you. Earlier thoughts of yourself, inputs from outside that were earlier in your childhood, or earlier in the day, or last week, whatever it is, memorable things. So you follow along the thought pathways of your own manipulated mind. Thought pathways. I'm going to explain what thought pathways are. So we give an example M, thought pathway explained. So let's say you think of, here, let's go with this here. You think of a banana, right? What thought is banana associated with? You think of slipping, color yellow, shapes like the moon. You might think of a monkey or the jungle. You see how it's related? Monkey, jungle, like that. So when you think of banana, monkey, jungle, now the monkey is the thought pathway. It is one thought that leads to another. The banana links to the monkey, and monkey links to the idea of a jungle. So that this is a thought pathway. One thought leads to the other. Jungle. What do you think of jungle? Tarzan. So now the banana thought has led to Tarzan. What do you think of Tarzan? Tarzan, elephants or yelling. Um, so a thought pathway is a thought that links two other thoughts together, or two ideas together. It's this mid-thought. Often these thoughts occur very fast, the connections. One thought quickly links to another very, very, very fast. Typically, you can think of three thoughts in like I'll give you an example. Done. Starting out, done. Three thoughts. It occurs extremely fast. So, beginning to there. So you might think of something, and then your mind makes the connections, and you follow along your own mind with those connected thoughts very, very fast, because your ability to think is very fast, and it goes on to the ending thought, and you might think, oh, I thought of this on my own. This happened naturally for some reason. You're oblivious. You're not aware. Often you're not aware of these intermediary thoughts, and so you think this, you think that, and because of these three intermediate connections, which you're not aware of, you think that you thought naturally of this ending thought, the result thought. So if the end thought is something sensual, you will think that, oh, I just ended up felt this way because just from nature, not realizing that actually there were three thoughts before that connected to that sensational thought. Very good. Now, so we said the illusions could be from earlier inputs, right? So from earlier in the day, earlier in the week, earlier whenever, last month, a year ago, whenever. From outside sources, it could be television, advertising, songs, anything on the outside. From your own ideas that are offshoots of external sources. So let's go from, you may have inputs earlier that connect with so many ideas, and they're offshoots, ideas that stem from this original idea or input, and you may have thought of them yourself, and so these are offshoots, like branches of a tree. So there could be, or from your own ideas that are offshoots of external or internal imaginative suggestions. It could be coming from your imagination, or things that are suggestive. So let's go with all this suggestive stuff will be explained in later insights. I'm not going to go into it right now. Okay, so example N. Partial awareness and partial choices. All right, so this is given an example of how I'm going to give the example of speech, but it could be done visually by sound, by any means. I'm going to go with the speech using words for you to understand. It's sufficient enough for you to see what I'm talking about. So I'm going to give you a group of words, and I want you to think of, let them sink into you. Let your consciousness be immersed in them, and tell me what comes to your mind. Here are the words: desert, flower, tea, Mars, fish. At this point, you should be thinking about what the previous words give you an impression of. You could pause the video while you think. Again, I'm going to tell you the words: desert, flower, tea, Mars, fish. Okay, so if you have thought about it long enough, point your attention to the next group of words. Pinpoint any idea that comes to your head. Keep your eyes sharp. Okay, here are the words: vaccination, haystack, porcupine, Now, these are the words ended. Now, if you have thought about it long enough, about the second group of words, we're going to go on to explain. So the first example, the first group of words, was to give you an impression of the word water. Before even mentioning the words, I used the word sink. I said, let these words sink into you. And also I said, let your consciousness be immersed. Again, the idea of water being dunked into. Then I went to the words, which is desert, flower, tea, Mars, fish. They all relate to water. Second group of words, before even mentioning the words, I was guiding your consciousness by using the word pinpoint. Pinpoint any idea that comes to your head. Head is also another one, head. Keep your eyes sharp. Again, sharp. In the book I use an exclamation point, which is another thing relating to, which is an image relating to a needle. There you go. Vaccination, I use as a needle, haystack, needle in a haystack, porcupine. Okay, so you see that how by these words, how a group of words can be mentioned, 1, 2, 3, all relate to a certain idea. Because they relate to this idea, when each one is mentioned, your mind automatically makes the connections. And it's nudging you into that direction. It's guiding your consciousness towards there. You may think, oh, I thought of the needle by myself, or I thought of water by myself. Now what happens for manipulation, people will use, people who are aware of this can casually insert certain words into a conversation because of mentioning these words. Your consciousness will be guided towards a certain subject. You will think that you thought of it all on your own, all on your own, and not realizing that your consciousness was being guided. This way of manipulation, that is. Now, so I give you an example, and again, remind you that it could be done visually, by sound, by behavior, in so many ways. So I don't use any of these techniques consciously in my book or even in person. I'm in favor of people being aware of this stuff so that they can guard against it and be a conscious, alive person free from manipulation. I'm going to go over this inside again. There's some things that are left out. So this is the part. The illusions that is fed to you by another. The illusions could be from earlier inputs. So that means that at some time in the past, a minute earlier, a second earlier, a day earlier, a week earlier, a few months back, 6 months back, years back, even childhood. Sometime in the past, an input was inputted. Some data was introduced to you. There was a data input into your consciousness by experience, by words, by so many ways. And that earlier input could be the source of some of your thoughts and feelings that you think are generated from yourself, but actually it's originating from this earlier input. Let's say an early memory of some sorts. The illusions could be from a source outside yourself, immediately right now, or from the past, outside yourself. Even from your own ideas that are offshoots of external or internal imaginative suggestions. So it could be from your own ideas that are offshoots of external inputs. So an data was inputted to you at earlier times, and it could branch out into some related fields, related ideas, and those are offshoots. It's like the strawberry plant. If you look up a strawberry plant, how it regenerates, you put a strawberry plant, the plant grows, and on its own, a stem reaches out on either side of the strawberry plant and inputs seed into this area over here and generates another plant, and so on and so forth. Many plants will grow by themselves. They plant themselves. They plant their neighbors. So this is an offshoot. So you have an original idea inputted to you, and it is naturally related to another idea. This idea influences your thoughts, and you think that you thought of it on your own, but actually it was originally connected to this thought. It came from there. And you may mistakenly think that you thought of this idea all on your own, and you had these feelings all on your own, when in fact it wasn't. Of course you can have original ideas and feelings, but we want to be aware of those ideas and feelings that are not coming from yourself or are influenced by outside sources, and you want to be aware of that and identify it, because you want to live a real and aware, conscious life rather than a robotic life, rather than a programmed life. So it could be from your own ideas that are offshoots of external inputs, external sources. Offshoots. What's another word for offshoots? That are branches or related to. So you could generate your own ideas that are related to external sources of information, or it could be of your own ideas that are related to internal imaginative suggestions. This will be talked about in detail in other insights, but yeah, I'll talk briefly on it. So internal imaginative suggestions. So as you know, you can think up, fantasize. You could make up ideas and related ideas. That you consciously do, or is suggestive. Suggestive is like suggestive ideas can be highly manipulative, especially if they are in this way, in this form. For example, let's say somebody says, "Hey, why don't you buy this property?" And you say, "I don't have the money." Then they say, "We have people who provide the money for you." And you say, "Yeah, but why would I need it?" They say to you, "Well, it's a great investment. In fact, in 2 or 3 years, this property will pay for its own and profit you. So you could even pay back the entire money you got from this guy and make a profit by selling it. So there is no loss for you, only gain." Then you might think, "Well, I don't want to go through the paperwork." It says, it's real easy. You just sign here, 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 and you're done. 3 places, But I don't know the property. We'll show you. We'll take you to a tour right now. Or we can set a date. We'll go check it out. No problem. Easy. Very easy. We can show you graphs. We can show you, Anyway, so they make it easier and easier for you to get involved in something so that all your worries are set aside, and it makes it extremely easy for you and not troublesome at all to get involved in a certain activity. So it's very suggestive. That's an example, a small example. But suggestive is similar to that, but it's on the very edge of having it without directly telling you. So it's suggestive. So as in let's say a lady comes and sits there somewhat close to you and is scantily dressed, and she kind of moves her body towards you, accentuating your figure, and as if all you were to do, as if she's offering herself to you. This is very suggestive. So suggestive is usually not something that you are told directly, but rather indirectly. We'll be talking about this at the other insights, yeah. Insight 36, about thought control. Any thought might be used to attract the mind and grab its attention. Then the mind can be manipulated toward a desired result. Just as a greedy man who grabs much money thinks he has outsmarted all others, yet he is enslaved by his own greed. In the same way, a manipulator of minds might believe that he has outsmarted others by manipulating others for his own gain. However, he too is trapped by his own scheming, because he is captured by the idea of manipulating others and seeking profit, power, pleasure, control, etc. So, this is about thought control. Any thought might be used to attract the mind and grab its attention. So, in order to control the mind, again, I'm mentioning these things for you to be aware, not to control others, but and how to get away from being controlled by others. So, any thought, how does it work? They present a thought that is attention-grabbing. Whatever activity that you were doing at that moment, you've forgotten about it because you're focused on this particular attention-grabbing info, whatever it is. It could be a video, sound, whatever. Suddenly, you stop and you're focused on this. Your attention has been grabbed, your mind has been grabbed, you've stopped all activity, you're physically not doing anything because you're focused on this. Now from there, they can tug and pull and whatever, add whatever else they want. Now one might say, oh well, momentary grab of one's attention is not significant. Well, that's just the beginning. Now, I'm going to give you an example of how even that is dangerous. Let's say there are two people who are, one is bullying the other. One is bullying and is about to start punching the guy, let's say. Suddenly this guy manipulates the mind of the other by saying something odd. The guy says, what? And that's enough pause for the man to be puzzled, and he starts punching him first and gets in the beginning shots. So changing the outcome of the situation by that means. Example, I use the word Anna and Bill. meaning A and B, two persons interacting with each other. Okay? Okay. Now, before I go into it, now notice that about control. Who's the controller and who's the receiver? Receiver, who's the controlling person? Who is the controlled? Who is the driver? Who is the passenger? So, in the case of, let's say there is a pole. Pretend this is a pole, and you can be chained to the pole, and this will stop you from going anywhere, or you can hold on to the pole, and your desire to hold on to the pole will stop you from going any place. Now, another example. Let's say somebody grabs onto your hand. Now you're under his control, right? Except that if this person insists on holding your hand, you move your hand, his hand moves as well. So it doesn't matter who's holding who, it matters who is controlling. Who is the one who has more power to pull and push? That one is the driver. So, in the case of thought control, if Bill is too focused on Anna's statements, meaning Bill's focus grabs onto Anna's reality projections, Bill might lose his objectivity in life, and therefore he can be manipulated by Anna. Anna changes or slightly alters her projections of her reality, and Bill, as perplexed as he might be, has to try to follow along to try and understand Anna, because Bill is not letting go of Anna's reality projections. Why is Bill not letting go of Anna's projections? Because his mind is grabbed by the attention. Attention is grabbed because Anna is using an attention-grabbing technique. So his mind is hooked. You see? Therefore, if a person continues to project their reality by talk or any other means without giving you the ability to think, then they could be manipulating you. So we see this often when two people are talking, one talks jabber, 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 jabber. They're manipulating the situation. It's possible that they're manipulating the situation. Controlling the situation. Setting the scene. Setting the situation. Setting the agenda. This is what matters. Blah, 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 blah. This person becomes a nobody, a nothing, a simple follower along. That's one scenario. Of course, it's possible that somebody, actually a lot of people, are undisciplined, or they don't care, they just want to continue talking. And so they may not necessarily mean to manipulate. It's just they're just undisciplined and they just jabber, jabber, jabber. Okay, no problem. So don't go thinking that just because somebody's talking a lot, they mean to manipulate. No, it's just some people are undisciplined or they want to talk a lot. Some people find enjoyment in talking a lot. I remember seeing a lady watching a program that glorified this constant talking and taking over situation. And let me tell you, when somebody's taking over a situation and they're talking jibber jabber, and if it's in a relationship, this is not a relationship, because in relationships you relate, you don't dictate. That's a dictatorship. Insight 37, master your moods, or others might be able to control your moods for their own ends. Your moods stem from thoughts and physical sensations, from within yourself, from outside, and from others. Okay, so let's say you have a certain thought. You wanna go see a movie, and you have another thought. You wanna have an ice cream, you know. Depending on your mood, more than likely you will follow your mood rather than what you think of. So You have to be aware of your moods and master your own moods rather than allowing your moods to be governed by others. Such as if you see a commercial about a hamburger, or you see a commercial about some other food or activity, and they're controlling your moods, they're trying to manipulate your moods. If they succeed, then you're likely to follow your mood and get involved in that activity. Your mood is like you think of something and then you imagine yourself being there, doing it, and being involved in the activity, eating or whatever it is, and dancing, and you're there mentally, and you're experiencing the joy of it beforehand, and you go, oh, that would be so nice to, like, yeah, and I want it, so you get involved. See, it's like that.